Okay.
You already mentioned Jeff.
Jeff Green, my goodness.
Talked together this morning. Well, actually, I think it was last night. They were hoping to get home today. I know he put a big post on Facebook today about it, but yesterday they were having issues with, he was bleeding a little bit, running some visions, and he has to go to the bathroom before he go home. So
Okay.
they're working on it.
I was quasi-joking with him with his post. Those of you who don't know, Jeff Green accidentally stabbed himself. Not with just a little pocket knife, Jeff. When you wanted to do a self-operation, you did it well. I mean, that blade's that long. And fillet knife. And I don't know of too many people foolish enough to do surgery on themselves.
Yeah, we'll send a message to Heather and tell her did she not know that children should not play with
That's
sharp
right. She's going to hide all the knives whenever she's out of the house. So, Jeff, if we didn't love you so much, we wouldn't be joking with you like this. But thank God, and I thank God that you weren't more seriously injured than you were. That could have been much, much worse. So, and Jeff acknowledges the God's hand was in the midst of all of that. Not pleasant to go through, but knowing that God is there and saves us from our stupidity. Yeah, Jeff, I said it. So, yes, Jeff Green, praise God that he's okay. So, other prayer requests.
Just remember Angie.
Angie?
We're doing too well today. She got up this morning and said, I can't do it this morning.
Okay.
And also here lately, she's experienced a lot of friends and family members passing away, and she's just beside herself. She's really grieving hard,
Mm-hmm.
and she still needs our prayers.
Okay.
All
All right. Angie, we're praying for you. Anyone else? Alan, you've been AWOL for a couple of weeks here, so I'm going to call on you to lead us in prayer.
Father in heaven, God, we just come before you this morning. Father, we want to give you thanks and praise, Lord, for all you do for us, God. You are a mighty God, a righteous God, and you're a loving God. God, we just pray for all these prayer requests. Lord, we pray for Ruth. Lord, we pray especially for these two families that lost their children. Lord, it was tough to be a part of that. God, you come through in all the preaching, everything that was done for those boys. God, we pray for Jamie's request, Lord. You know the need there. Father, we ask that you continue to mend Jeff. God, get him out of the hospital.
Yes, God.
Father, we just can't thank you enough for all you do for us. God, we ask you to be with this morning prayer study and Bible study. Lord, you be with the service afterward. Lord, may everything be done to glorify your name. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, so we are in Romans chapter 12. If you're following along in your Bibles and on your devices, we are going to resume chapter 12 at verse 10. And I was telling Paul, our Paul, not the Apostle Paul, I haven't talked to Apostle Paul, but our Paul, how much I've really appreciated this, probably my third, maybe my fourth study of this particular book. And I don't know, as I'm reading and as I'm studying, it's just like I'm reading it for the first time. I have just gleaned so many blessings from what Paul writes. And I think it's just my deeper appreciation for who the Apostle Paul was, what he is doing here, penning this letter to a church that he's never visited, and he is giving them the wealth of knowledge that God has given him, and this knowledge, this wisdom that he shares. And in verse 12, it is a recipe that every church, not just this church here, but every church, how to be church. I mean, it is sound advice. Like I said, he doesn't know these people personally. He's probably heard some of the reputations, good reputations for the people who attend the church at Rome. But it's sound advice. Yes?
Sorry. Charlie just fell on the sidewalk. They're taking her to urgent care. She busted her.
Oh, no. Okay. Remember Charla in prayer. If you didn't hear that, she just had a fall right before coming in the door. So she's got a place on her head, and she's going to the hospital.
Run for Dad and clean the sidewalk off.
Okay. So remember Charla in prayer. We'd appreciate that. Okay. So, wow. Verse 10. Paul says, "Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves." And so I ask the question, devoted.
What chapter you in?
12.
12, 12?
Mhm.
Verse 12?
No, verse 10.
Oh, sure, no one.
Hey, you lost me too. I'm there now.
I'm headed down a rabbit hole. Try to stay with me. So, okay. So let me ask you the question. He says, be devoted to one another. What does devoted mean?
Well, it could be a number of things. It could be, devoted to fellowship with your fellow brothers and sisters, devoted to helping one another, looking out for one another, devoted to praying one another.
So if we're devoted, what is Paul expecting of us? If we are.
Take care of each other.
Okay.
He tells you that in the next verse.
And on other, be dependable.
Working together. If we are devoted to our spouse and tough times come, do we just write the spouse off? No. We stay devoted. This is a very important word that Paul is trying to get across to them. Be devoted to one another. So if you're devoted, you don't write off family members. And that's what church is. Our brothers and sisters in Christ who meet with us, don't write them off. Be devoted. Be supportive of them. They should be important to you. Okay? And when he says, honor one another above yourself, I think it kind of dovetails with what he's just said about being devoted, but the welfare of our brothers and sisters is supposed to be a priority, okay? Even at the exclusion of our own comfort. Honor one another above yourself.
I have to love the unlovable in my family and
Yeah.
friends. I don't have to, but if I'm going to be Christ-like, I am going to.
You're going to honor them
Loving them even though they frustrate me.
above the things that make them disagreeable to you, okay? So, the call upon our lives that God has is so much different than the call the world has on people. You see, the world operates on a whole different level, okay? In the world, outside of the church, we hear people mouth words of being devoted and honoring other people with the expectation there's going to be something in return. Okay? That's the way the world operates. But Paul is saying, be devoted to one another, honor one another above yourself. And so the time, the money, the effort, everything that we put forth in the church, what am I getting out of this? Well, that's the way the world thinks. But what is God getting out of what I'm putting in? How is God and the furtherance of the kingdom being benefited by what I'm doing? It's not above me. He says, honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. If you're going to, term we use today, put your foot in the gas and keep your foot on the gas pedal. Okay? Never lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor.
Something I pray every day. Lord, let me keep my zeal. You keep your zeal, you're going to have spiritual fervor, serving the Lord.
So if we have zeal, if we have fervor, how do our brothers and sisters, how do our family members, co-workers, whatever, how do they see that play out? If we have a zeal,
See, you feel like, I think you're a fanatic or something, for real.
yeah, I have people that doubt my sanity, okay?
That's what I'm saying.
You're wasting your life and you're wasting your family with your preoccupation with the Bible, with Jesus, with your relationship with God. We have to care about what we're doing, okay? If someone's trying to get you excited about something, or they expect you to get excited about something, salesman, I think of salesman, okay? If a salesman is going to be successful in what he's doing, is it just going to be a, whenever you turn it on, who was the guy? Ron Popeil? The guy who sold all the gadgets on TV and everything? Okay.
Oh, yeah, everybody in here should be aware of
Ron Popeil had a zeal for the products that he was selling. And he was excited. But if he was monotone and just very,
Work.
how many products would, where would we be without the Vegematic, The pocket fishing. I know you've all bought his products and everything. It's because Ron Popeil was excited about that. And Paul is saying it's the same thing here. If you care about what you're doing, you're going to be excited. If you're not excited about being in church, if you're not excited about a relationship with God through Jesus Christ, if you're not excited about dodging hell and flames and eternal judgment, if you're not excited about that, the person you're witnessing to, Alan, how excited are they going to be if you're a flatline in your relationship with God? Never be lacking in zeal. Keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. We should have a zeal for the things of God. We need to understand one thing, that serving God is not an obligation, it's a privilege. When we come to church, because that's the thing we're supposed to do, I'm just going to get up on Sunday and I'm going to go to church. And I'm going to endure the Sunday school teacher, and I'll endure the pastor, and then I'll get on with my life, because then the football games come on and I can get excited about my football team, okay? It's not supposed to be an obligation. When we come to know God through Jesus Christ, it is a privilege. It's a privilege for me to teach Sunday school. I pray that I teach accurately, that I don't take it for granted. You're not just getting some politician who's spewing information, and trying to motivate you in a false way. What I want to do, what I want to inspire you to do, is to take serious your relationship with God. And it is such a privilege for me to be your Sunday school teacher. It's a privilege to be a Christian. It's a privilege to be used by God. The sinful slug that approached God in 1985 with more baggage than 10 freight trains could transport, and he's using me. He's called me to be a Sunday school teacher, and it's a privilege that I don't take lightly, okay? I want to be the very best Sunday school teacher I can be for you. It matters, the attitude we carry into things, okay? So it matters as you come to Sunday school praying that God will reveal something to you, okay? It should matter to you and the attitude that you have about being here and attending the worship service. It should matter to you that the Bible studies, the different service projects, you have an opportunity, a privilege of doing something for the kingdom of heaven and everything. That's that zeal that we need to tap into every single day. A friend of mine, I was helping him, and this verse came to me. It says, "Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer." Now you can look at that verse and you can just gloss right through it and say, okay, where's the next important? I know what that is. Yep. Hello. This is Jeff. Yes, I do. Okay. All right. I'll get somebody down there. I will certainly do that. Okay. All right. Bye. All right. Well, okay. So bear with me as I try to find somebody to go down and get the fuel pumps working so that 911 and all the emergency vehicles. Let's go here. I'll be talking to Brian Fraser. People around the country are laughing. There's no answer there. So let's go here. Hey, Brian, I'm in the middle of teaching Sunday school right now as we speak. I'm being broadcast. Can you do me a favor? Go down and reset the pumps and then call 911 and let them know that the pumps have been reset. Okay, thank you. Yeah, after you get down there and reset the pumps, let them know. Call 911 and let them know the pumps have been restored. All right, thanks, brother. Bye. Yeah. Satan turned the pumps off there at TTA, so now our police cars and everything can fuel. Okay, so once again, be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. So there's two concepts that we need to come to terms with, okay? First one being joy, and the second one being hope. These two words, joyful and hope, are intertwined. Remember one thing, that Paul is ministering to, writing this letter to, a persecuted church, okay? And so, therefore, we need to understand, as Paul pens these words, joy and hope. Now, there's a difference. If you've been in my Sunday school class for any period of time, there is a distinct difference between happiness and joy, okay? Joy comes from the hope that we have, not only in the present, but also in the future as a result of our relationship with Jesus Christ. And so we have a joy. There is a lightness in our hearts in light of our external circumstances. Whatever we're facing, we have joy, not happiness. They're different. Happiness comes and goes, okay? Now hope. The way the world uses hope, you know, I hope the Steelers win today. Shut up, Alan. I hope the Steelers win today. It's very much in doubt, okay? Okay, so I hope that they win. That's the way the world looks at that word. The hope that Paul is talking about is a done deal. We have expectations of things that we have not yet seen. But we have hope because we know it's a done deal. God forgave me of my sins. I have a joy and I have a hope, not pie in the sky. I sure hope it happens or whatever, the way the world looks at it. No, it's a done deal. If I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, God says it's a done deal. You will spend eternity with me in heaven.
Hope turns into belief.
Hope, belief, yeah. All of these things that we have. And so be joyful in hope. Scripturally speaking, hope is not an iffy thing. It's a done deal. Patient in affliction, okay? Afflictions come with the territory. If you became a Christian expecting your life to be a cakewalk, everything was going to go smooth, family, health, finances, your own health, everything was going to be just fine as a result of you being saved. If you came with that expectation, you are sadly disappointed, okay? Affliction comes with the territory. We will, not might, we will face troubles, trials in our lives. And we know this because Jesus promised. He didn't pull any punches. Jesus said, if you follow me, if you take serious a relationship with me, bad things are going to happen to you, okay? I'm not pulling punches, but when you follow me, you have a hope for your future, for eternity.
For me, it's like, yeah, following Christ, you're gonna have tribulations and trials and stuff, but as far as I'm concerned, it could be 100 times worse if I wasn't following Christ. That's my view of this.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, all the little hurts and pains that I do go through, even though I am Christ-like Christian, it could be 100 times worse if I wasn't walking with the Lord. He's protected me in more ways, even though I probably got slapped, I could have been punched.
Yeah.
Or something like that, it would have been worse.
Going on, we're coming up on an 8-year anniversary of a doctor telling me I got cancer. Man, I didn't sign on for cancer. It's just here, okay? I would never, if things played out the way they could have, I would not have never met my granddaughter or my grandson. Was it easy going through what I went through? It was painful. It was really painful at times. But I didn't go through it on my own. God promised me His presence all the way through that. And He gave me the strength to endure the pain and the uncertainty of what life would be like on the other side. Everything we encounter in life, God is there, and He's willing to teach us. That was my prayer whenever the doctor told me I had cancer. The first private moment I had alone, I said, God, I'm not asking you to heal me. If you do, so much the better, okay? But if you don't, teach me. Teach me through this, however it turns out. Yeah, well, it's just things just keep piling. Remember what I told you? It's not a cakewalk, okay? Everything we encounter in life, God is there, and He's willing to teach us. That's what I ask God to teach me. Would I want to have cancer again? No, okay? It hurt, okay? But I learned things in the midst of all of that I would not have learned from reading about it in a book, okay? I experienced it. And He was there to encourage me, and He's there to encourage you. Sometimes we have to go through things. Sometimes we have to climb over things. And sometimes we end up going around them. God makes a way. But it's God who is always present with us. And that's what Paul is trying to get across. Patient in affliction. Okay, when these things come upon us, be patient. Don't throw up your hands. Don't quit. We're comforted by the knowledge that God is there. It didn't come as a surprise to Him, and He's in control of our situations. I'm dealing with a couple situations right now, that God, and I'm not being flippant, okay, but this is in essence what my prayer, how it starts out. God, are you aware of what I'm going through? And I feel Him nodding and saying, I'm well aware of what you're going through. But God, why won't you end? Why won't you change this thing that I'm dealing with? I can't sleep at night. I worry about it. And he says, you don't have to lose sleep, you know. You don't have to worry about it, because who's in control? Your situation or me? And that's where the peace comes from, okay? In affliction, when these things come upon me, it is, who's in control here? Oh, you are, God. What are you worried about, okay? You know, it's like learning to ride a bike, and you think you're going to crash and everything, you know, but your dad is right there holding onto the handlebars and onto the seat, and you imagine all the falls and the skins and everything like that. But who's there? You know, your dad's there teaching you to ride a bike. God's there teaching us to ride life. Be patient in affliction. Faithful in prayer. Don't miss this. This is kind of the capstone, okay? This is Paul's advice and these others. Be faithful in prayer. This is the key. A slacking prayer life. God, I am so tired of dealing with this situation. I am so tired of this person or that person or those people, okay? A slacking prayer life. I just give up. God, you don't care about me. You're not listening to me. You're not changing my situation. A slacking prayer life is an invitation to spiritual collapse. If you want to see what will result in a Christian falling out of fellowship with God, backsliding, where does it start? It starts with a slacking prayer life. When you disconnect yourself from the one who created the universe, everything that we see, who formed me in my mother's womb to look exactly as I look, to have the physical attributes that I've got, okay? How stupid is that to just say, God, I'm mad at you and I'm not going to talk to you? You're just cutting yourself off from someone who can make the difference in what you may have to go through it. God, I'm scared. I don't want to go through that. What if this? What if that? Just quit with the what ifs, Jeff. We're going to go through this together. But why don't you take me around it? Why don't you give me a ladder to get over top of it and everything? No. Jeff, in this case, we're going to have to go through it. And you are going to be praying to me for your strength, for your wisdom to respond to these situations. That is the purpose of a relationship that we have with God. Why would we cut ourselves off from the source of all knowledge? Everything that we could possibly want. Shunning God does one thing. You stop talking to God, you wander away from the flock, and guess who's waiting for you outside the flock? Wolves. Satanic wolves will rip you apart. If you make the determination, God, I don't need you, I don't want you, that's where you're going to end up. You end up as prey for ravenous wolves.
That's what I tell my kids, the world's gonna chew you up and spit you out.
My dad in his own way, whenever I would feel like quitting and everything, when I throw a temper tantrum and I'd be on the floor, go ahead and lay down there. Now, who's going to feel sorry for you? Because I'm not. Get up, pick yourself up, dust yourself off. Let's talk about this, okay? Sometimes he did a little more than talking with me, but it was for my own good, okay? And so be faithful in prayer. Don't quit praying. Pray more, okay? That's what I have to do. I have not reached this level of enlightenment where I no longer need to be in touch with God. I know the more mature I become in the faith, the more I depend on God, the more I depend on talking to Him. The more I realize that, Jeff, you're not real bright, but God is, and God is there to manage the situations that I'm going through. He shifts gears a little bit here in verse 13, and he says, share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. One of the things you have to understand about the Middle East, okay? Paul is writing from this area around the Mediterranean. But in the Middle East, in Israel, and all those surrounding countries in the Middle East, whether it's Judaism, whether it's Islam, or whether it's Christianity, it is the bedrock of civilization in that area. It is a very harsh, unforgiving area. And people survive because of hospitality. That is the Old Testament, where God, many of the laws that God passed down dealt with hospitality. Okay? Paul is calling the church in Rome to be faithful in community. Hospitality is the hallmark of Christianity. Okay? We deal with people one-on-one. I can't deal with everybody in Lebanon. Okay? But if I meet somebody from Lebanon, and I get to know that person, and he gets to know me, if that person is hungry and needs food, if I buy him a hamburger, or if I buy him a pizza, if I have him sit at my table, whatever I'm doing, I'm practicing hospitality. I'm extending myself for the good of someone else. That's what Paul is getting across. Share with the Lord's people. The persecuted church at Rome, people lost jobs, people lost their lives, people lost family members, the support in their life. Imagine the orphans and the widows left behind because the husband would not compromise his faith in Jesus Christ and died. These people need help. We need to reach out, share with the Lord's people, practice hospitality. What God has blessed us with in life, okay, wasn't meant to be hoarded, saving it up for my retirement. I blessed you with this so that you can be a blessing to others. You're passing on the blessings that God has given you. Well, this is going to fly right in the face of the world that we live in. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Oh my goodness, you can turn on the news and whatever flavor of news you watch and everything. They're all about cursing those who curse them. They don't agree with their lifestyle. They don't agree with their politics and everything. Paul says, bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. So if someone has a different, I tend to be conservative in my thoughts, and somebody has a liberal viewpoint on something, I don't call curses down on them. I bless them. Why? Yeah. Well, they're not going to bless me, so why should I bless them? Well, all you do is self-perpetuate all the problems in this world if you do not grasp the thought here of blessing those who persecute you. So, Democrats, get up and support President Trump, okay? I can hear people clicking out, this lunatic, okay? Republicans, Joe Biden, support his or be a blessing to his people. Well, there goes the other half of my audience watching in. This right here, bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rise above the temperature in the room. We are called, as Christians, we are called to be different in the world that we live in. Blessings, they run against the grain, the way the world works. They go against the flow, okay? How can I bless someone who is so messed up, okay? And I don't care who you are and who you're looking at, but when you carry that mindset, it runs contrary to what Paul is trying to get across. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. So at the church in Rome, where people are being arrested, and they are put on poles and doused in oil and set on fire to be street lights, that they become the entertainment in the arena for wild animals to rip them apart. Paul says, bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. These are not words written by someone who doesn't know what it's like to be persecuted. Paul faced more persecution than anyone that I know of in the New Testament, with the exception of Jesus Christ. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Well, yeah, why not, you know? Lewis is having a great day, and I'm gonna celebrate with him, okay? But there's also a temptation when someone is celebrating, someone is rejoicing. Lewis is so lucky, and God has blessed him so much and everything, and look at all the bad things that are going on in my life. And I'm sorry, but I just don't feel like celebrating with Lewis, okay? Rejoice with those who rejoice. Don't chafe at other people's, at the good that's going on in other people's lives. Share life with others. What's important? What's going on in someone else's life should be important to me, okay? Mourn with those who mourn. Don't shun people who are mourning. I've got enough going on, and you know, I've overcome a lot in my life and everything, and I just want to be in my happy world. I just want to enjoy life and my own happiness. And if I get around Jeff and all his problems and everything, all that's going to do is just drag me down. But if you come to me and you say, man, I'm sorry for what you're going through. You don't avoid me, you encourage me. You tell me about better days. Think about this, okay? Maddie, you get up at 1 o'clock in the morning and you're walking through your dark house and your foot finds the coffee table, okay? 4 toes are pointed north and that little toe is pointed east. How do you react when that pain hits you? Okay, well, we'll hit the mute button now. Tell me your actions.
I would scream, but I wouldn't curse, because God's blessed me to hold it.
Okay, but what do? You stub your toe. What physical action do you take?
Hop around, hold it, and scream with the whole house up.
There you go. You stub your toe and you are in pain. And that pain is in your toe, but it is already up here. Okay, it's registered up there. Your whole body is in pain. And so you grab your foot. Are you a healer where you grab your foot, Alan? Does that make it magically better? But you grab your foot. You grab your foot and you hold it, okay? And after the pain goes down a little bit, you rub it a little bit. To make it hurt more? No, you're trying to get blood flowing in there so that it'll feel better. That's what Paul is trying to get across here. Mourn with those who mourn. When people are hurting, okay, we as Christians are called to be holding them. Can I fix the problem of a lost spouse, of a lost child, of any loss in your life? Can I fix that just by hugging you? No, my hug won't change your circumstance. But that rubbing that we do on a sore toe, or if you bang your elbow and hit your crazy bone, it feels better. It begins to feel better because my hands care about what's going on in my foot, okay? And so in the body, as we come to the members who are hurting and we attempt to hold them and massage them and get the blood flowing, to get them going. And it can take a long time. He says, mourn with those who mourn, okay? I'm going to give you about 20 good words, and then, Maddie, everything's supposed to be better for you and the problems in your life. You know, that's the attitude that we have. Sometimes it's weeks. Sometimes it's months. Maybe it's years that we mourn with people. So we have family members who've passed, and the pain is real. My dad died a long time ago. I was 19 years old. He wasn't even 49. Is that pain gone? No. And Father's Day, when it comes, I celebrate with Jeff and Jacob. They're my children and everything. But there's a hole here in my heart when I remember my dad. Same with my mom. I love my mom. She was 65 when she died. Good things happen in my life. I want to call mom up and tell her. You know, mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. You know what? This may come as a shock to some of you who've been in church for a while, but you know, there can be dissension in the church. There can be splits. There can be fights. And they're far too common. They happen in families, and they happen in the families of God. Live in harmony with one another. That's what Paul is saying. To be church, you have to work towards having a peace, a harmony. Paul's saying, get over yourself and get with the mission. Well, that's pretty cold, Jeff, to just say something like that. You don't know the situation that's going on and what came about. We have a mission. People are dying and going to hell as we speak. And the mission that we have, the reason why when we were saved, we didn't just be transported up to heaven. God left us here with a purpose to live our lives in accordance with some of the teachings that Paul is bringing out here in this. Get with the mission. If I've got a problem with someone, I got to figure out a way of getting over it so that the mission can continue. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. Newsflash, you're no better than the next person. God places great value on every human life. Whether they speak English, whether they stink, whether they have destroyed their family because of drug and alcohol abuse, be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. God places great value on every single human life. Do not repay evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you got a preview this morning of where we are right here. I'm going to fight fire with fire. All right? Lewis, that's one of my favorite country expressions. So the woods are on fire behind your house, and I'm going to fight that fire by setting a new fire, right? Makes total sense. Yeah. I want to take a can of gasoline out of my outbuilding and drag it through the woods, and what's not on fire, I'll set on fire. Okay? That's insane. You don't fight fire with fire. Okay? You try to put the fire out. Okay? And how do you put the fire out? It's a whole lot different than reacting the way that the world reacts. Getting even is the way of the world. The secret resentment that you have in your heart is not something to cling to. You don't fight fire with fire. In any given situation, see, our tongues are very adept at explaining away what's going on in here. And what's going on in here is really ugly. But as it boils up, and sometimes whenever it comes out, the tongue makes it palatable, makes it listenable. But what if you took the microphone and put it right up to your heart, right at the source? What will the people in the room, the people that you associate with, what would they hear coming through that microphone? Not just through the microphone, but through an amplifier. Are you comfortable with that? Paul says, do not repay evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. So as far as it depends on you, okay? You can't make people like you, okay?
Put F in there.
Yeah.
Word, F.
You can't make people like you, but you can do your part. even if it's not returned. How many times have you had a disagreement with someone and that person is angry and mad and maybe says, I'll never forgive you? All right, what am I going to do? Am I just going to allow it to sit there and fester and stink? Or am I going to say, look, I'm sorry, I don't know how we got off on this wrong foot, okay? But I don't want it to stay like this. I don't care what you say, I'm not accepting your apology. You ever had somebody tell you that? I don't accept your apology, and I never will. And I'll hate you as a result of our disagreement. Maybe I was wrong, maybe we were both wrong, maybe they were wrong. But as far as it depends on you,